Good morning. I'm speaking this morning to Christine Robinson from the Regional Family Violence Partnership for our Inner East Primary Care Partnership Coffee with interview this morning. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. Christine, what Aboriginal land are you talking to me from this morning?
I'm coming from Park Orchards, which is on the land of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation.
And it's a bit cold out there this morning.
It is very cold. I think it's cold everywhere in Melbourne this morning.
Yeah, that's true. Spring is in the air though. Can you tell us a little bit about the work of the Regional Family Violence Partnership?
Sure. So as the name suggests, it's a partnership. It's a regional integration committee, of which there are 13 across the state, and our partnership is called the Regional Family Violence Partnership. It is a local governance structure that provides strategic leadership and responses to the family violence sector. So we cover inner and outer east. So within that, there's 7 local government areas, all the way from Boroondara out to the Shire of Yarra Ranges. And one of our main tasks at the moment is for the implementation of the reforms from the Royal Commission in 2016. So we work together with, part of our partnership is the Specialist Family Violence Services in Inner and Outer East, and all of the other organisations and agencies and alliances whose work intersects with family violence. So alcohol and other drug, mental health, housing and homelessness. Some of the organisations are EDBOS, EACH, we've got Victoria Police on our partnership, Anglicare, Uniting, and we cover all the way from prevention through early intervention, crisis response, and through to recovery. So there is a lot that we cover with the partnership. I'm part of the Regional Family Violence Partnership team, and there's 3 of us in that team. So we support the alliances.
Fantastic. Tell me about your work. So you are the your responsibility is guiding strategy. Is that correct?
Yes. So my role is the Principal Strategic Advisor for the partnership. As I said, I'm part of a team of 3. We have a resource worker and an administration officer as well. So we have our work is guided by our strategic plan and our action plan, which is a 12-monthly action plan. When we work with the partnership to develop that, it's about the needs of the workforce. So workforce development also provides leadership and influence across Inner and Outer East, systems integration, and we also look at data and knowledge.
Wow, big job.
I've only been in it for 4 months, so still very much learning the role and how the system actually is integrated. It's great in that our role horizontally is across the partnership for Inner and Outer East, and then vertically I also have the linkages with all of the other Principal Strategic Advisors or PSAs across the state, for which there's 14 of us, and we get together for statewide meetings with DV Vic, No to Violence, which are the peak bodies, and also Family Safety Victoria. So we can really, we can really feed up that local area knowledge, and if there's any issues on the ground, up directly to Family Safety Victoria.
It sounds like a really interesting job, Christine. How did you get there?
It is a really interesting job, and I'm very lucky to be here. Prior to being in this role, I have been in Victoria Police for the last 19 years. So started off as a recruit in the academy back in 2001, I think it was, and all the way through to becoming a sergeant more recently at Ringwood. But within that time, I have been a detective for about 12 years, specialising as a sexual assault and child abuse investigator, and that part of that was heavily involved with family violence and sexual assault within family violence.
Wow, you bring a really interesting perspective and wealth of experience into your role. Amazing.
It's a little different. Yeah, a lot of people within the sector come from, say, a social work background.
Yeah.
And so I am bringing that that police lens into the role, but yeah, very much learning everything else that I need to do in this role.
Fantastic. So what excites you and motivates you about your work?
I think the collaboration with all of our partners. We've built some really strong relationships, and the ease that we're able to communicate, I think, really excites me. That if we have a success, we can really share it. But also, if we find gaps within the integration of our organisations, we can address that as well. So our structure of governance is that we've got a systems leadership group who are like the executive, but then we have an implementation committee, and we have representatives from all of the sectors that intersect with family violence, and we can share our knowledge and also our learnings, which then gets disseminated out to all the organisations.
Well, we too are a partnership organisation, and the collaboration and the partnership part of our work is really one of the motivating things for me as well. It's a great thing to be doing. Let's talk about coronavirus. What has the pandemic taught you about the systems you have in place to protect and support women and older people experiencing family violence?
Yeah, what's the pandemic taught us? I think it's taught us that we are very resilient as a wider sector. There has been a huge amount of work done at the local levels for the workforce in particular, because we have to make sure that our workforce is up to date with all the amount of information that's coming down from the state government. There has been special practice guides in relation to MARAM and COVID-19, and just updating risk assessments. And I think it's taught us that we can collaborate in different ways to ensure the safety of women and children. So I've heard some great stories of organisations building better collaboration and integration that they have had prior to COVID-19, which is fantastic. On the flip side, we also don't know the full extent yet of what is happening in people's homes. If they're able to access all the services that they need because of the current restrictions. I think the communication has been really great, and there's a lot of information on social media. Family violence is often spoke about in the news. The TIFA partnership have done some great work on social media for the Together for Respect in the Home, I think it's called. And I think we'll take a lot of learnings out of COVID moving forward of how we can work together better in the future.
Yeah, it's a bit heavy information coming down at the moment. And I think the information coming from community will come out over the coming 12 months, I'd say. What changes would you make in the coming period of recovery now that those weaknesses in the system will be exposed in the next over the next 12 months about who's been reached and who hasn't, and what the outcomes are going to be? What changes do you think you might be thinking about making?
Yeah, as I mentioned in the previous question, I think having assessments on how we've operated during COVID, we'll continue to do that, and what's working well. Something that Gen Vic have done is that I think there's over 100 organisations now that have signed up to their gender equity and COVID-19 statement, to really advocate to the state and federal governments about calling for a review of the gendered impacts of COVID-19. I think we really need to drill down into that as well. And you can jump on the GenVic website and read about what they're doing and the tasks in relation to that. So I think that's really positive. I don't know, I hope we haven't stepped backwards in equality, gender equality, but I think we may have, particularly because of a lot of, it's now more evident of how much women actually do in the home in this time. If they've like caregiving for their children, relatives, neighbours, if they've reduced their work hours because of that. Yeah, we would really like to see a review on that. And yeah.
So you've talked a little bit about partnership and collaboration. How do you see that working to build resilience in the future?
I think it has shown that we are resilient, that we can adapt really easily. We've all moved to an online platform such as this, our Zoom and team meetings. I think we can collaborate a lot easier. Just inviting people to a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting instead of picking up the phone, being able to see them, it's going to reduce our travel time. I think we're going to have more involvement in meetings such as our implementation committee meeting with the RFVP, because we can all get together so easily now. So it's definitely going to build our resilience in the way we work together. What else is there? What are your views? Have you seen a difference in how we're operating?
Oh, I think I would agree with you about that, actually, that it is much easier to get to meetings and you can go to more of them. And yeah, definitely there is a little bit more about that. I wonder how we're going to do Zoom meetings when we all get back into the office, though. It's going to be noisy. Might be something that we have to deal with, but that's way down the track.
It is way down the track, unfortunately, at the moment. So this is the new normal at the moment. And yeah, there's some great work, men's behaviour change programs, although they're not called that online because they can't be called that online, but they are still programs just the same that are still running in an online format. There's anecdotal evidence that the engagement that they're getting is really good online. I know that special family violence services are still often meeting face-to-face, but they are also meeting via Zoom, Teams or via phone. So instead of having to set up a time to meet with the victim survivor, a Teams meeting can sometimes occur more easily if it's safe to do so. That said, yeah.
Well, let's have a think about our working from home life, which we're all doing at the moment. Have you got any strategies that you've found that have helped you can share?
What strategies do I use? I just try to get my kids sorted early in the morning for their remote learning. I've got 2 primary school aged kids, so making sure that they've got their schedules ready prior to me jumping into any meetings. I think having my calendar set, notifying my kids of when they can and can't interrupt me in meetings is good, but being flexible most of all. I have to be super flexible because especially my grade 3 son needs a lot of direction and assistance with his work, so I actually have a newfound appreciation of teachers.
Yes, don't we all?
I'm dealing with 1 and they deal with 25. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah, and I've just realised that I'm doing this interview this morning and I've left my office door wide open and anyone could have walked in. I'll try to keep that in mind for next time. What are you looking forward to doing when our time of isolation is over?
I'm looking forward to meeting my team. I have met the 2 girls in my team, Jess and Rach, twice, face to face. And so we've been working together for 4 months now, and yeah, we've been working from home all of that time. So I'm looking forward to being with them face to face in the same office and having a coffee with them. Personally, I just want to give my friends a hug and sit down and have lunch with them.
That will be nice. That will be nice. So is there anything you're secretly enjoying about this time of isolation?
Wearing my tracksuit pants to work.
How many people say that?
There's tracksuit pants and Ugg boots going on underneath the desk here.
I've got my slippers on.
Oh, good. Everything's so relaxed. I think you can even go into meetings now and you don't have to be dressed up. You can be wearing a sweater and that's okay. You're still the same person.
That's right. It doesn't affect the way you do your job in the long run.
Not at all.
No. Well, Christine, it's been fantastic talking to you this morning.
Thank you.
All the best of luck over the next 12 months, and I hope you get to meet your colleagues very, very soon.
Me too. Thank you. Thanks for having me.